Welcome to The Issue Is. I'm Elex Michaelson. This week, we take a break from the politics of the day to celebrate a man who transcended politics. We honor Kobe Bryant. We talk to one of his teammates and coaches, journalists who covered him, and TMZ's Harvey Levin, who broke the story of Kobe's death and then ended up in the middle of a controversy in the process. A very special edition of The Issue Is starts right now.
Broadcasting across California, California's only statewide political show. You're watching The Issue Is.
This week, we celebrate one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Kobe Bryant is being remembered as a transcendent cultural figure, and most important to him, a girl dad and coach of his beloved Gigi. Here to help us remember him is Tracy Murray. He was one of Kobe's teammates on the Lakers in the 2002 season, an assistant coach on the Lakers in 2015 when Kobe was still playing. Tracy, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Sorry for your loss.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
We want to talk about Kobe the man, but let's start with Kobe the player. You experienced him both as a teammate and as a coach.
Yeah.
Tell us about him.
Kobe was fierce. You know, he was probably one of the hardest workers that you will ever play with or against.
When you heard that news on Sunday, what went through your mind? Describe that for us.
Well, Josh Lewin and I were, that's my partner with UCLA, we were doing a game that day up in Eugene, Oregon against the Ducks. I get a call from a really good friend of mine, Mark Henry from the WWE, and he says, "It's true about Kobe." I was like, "What are you talking about?" "Yeah, LeBron passed him the night before." He was like, "No. Helicopter accident, he supposedly died." And I told him, I said, "Let me call you back." I called Kobe twice. I heard a doo-doo-doo, and I've never heard that with his phone before. Then I called his sisters, couldn't get in touch with them. I called Shaq, and Shaq asked me if it was true. I was like, "I don't know, I'm calling you to find out." And he's like, "Okay, when we find out, we'll let each other know." And then I called Byron right after that.
Byron Scott.
You know, that's his rookie. You know, that's his big brother. You
Right.
know, and
played together when they were rookie, and then he was the head coach that you coached under.
Right. And then I just went down the whole Laker roster in my contact book in my phone. Does anybody know anything, from Gary Vitti to Rob Pelinka to anybody? I just wanted to get somebody who's going to pick up and tell me something.
Yeah.
And then I heard the rumor about Rick Fox, and I was like, "No." Call Rick Fox. His phone rang. He just didn't pick up. So I'm like, okay, two different situations with phones, so maybe he's okay.
Yeah.
But then after that, the reports started coming in. I was still in denial. I went through security, got down to my seat and put my bag down, and then I got a buzz from ESPN, and then that came up, and that's when I knew it was real, and I had to go. I grabbed my coffee and went and took a walk, and I was gone for about an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, can you still believe it?
No, not at all. It's still like a nightmare that's just never ending.
Yeah. I know you saw him recently, and he asked about your family. We've got some photos of the two of you together. What was he like as a person?
He's fine. You know, he does like to crack jokes. You know, he's very much a family man. He's always asking you, how's your family doing? He's very giving and gracious of his time, and it's going to be a tremendous loss for everybody.
We hear that maybe he wasn't so great to all of his teammates in the early part of his career. Is that true?
Well, I mean, we're all competitive. And yeah, he'll poke the bear every now and then just to try to get you moving. And you know, you need somebody to keep you motivated. It's 82 plus games a year. And if he feels that you're not playing up to what he thinks you can play up to, he's going to let you know. That's what he's supposed to do as one of the leaders of the team.
So you saw Kobe in two very different parts of his career.
Oh, yes.
Early on when he was battling with Shaq and they were winning the championship. You saw him towards the end of his career when he was kind of in a different mindset. And now you're a coach of your former teammate. What was that dynamic like, and what was Kobe like in that role?
I tell you what, that was a more open Kobe Bryant at that time, being shooting coach for the Lakers at the time. Smiling, talking about, each other's families and the conversations we'll have riding to the arenas, because I would go there early with him because he wanted to get some shots up before the games, and asking about each other's families, and just incredible person. He just opened up, and just to see all of the things that he has done, not only in the basketball realm, but who goes and gets an Academy Award afterwards?
Right.
Who coaches his daughter's team full of girls? It's like he gave his time, his money, his effort, and energy to many other different things than just the Lakers.
What do you make of the just extraordinary response? I mean, we haven't seen this response to somebody's death in years. Why do you think that is, and was it surprising to you? Not
surprising at all. Anybody that knows Kobe Bryant's fan base, it's a very passionate cult-type fan base. I mean, you say anything bad about him, they will fight you. It's just, he captured so many different ethnic backgrounds, cultures, and they've all followed him. And it's not just here in Los Angeles or here in California, it's all over the world he impacted people.
What's the lesson that you learned from knowing Kobe? How is your life better because you knew Kobe? He's
just a number one is, you see he's a family man. You know that. He's a girl dad. I'm a girl dad. The way he supported, women's rights, WNBA, women's sports, same way I did.
Mm-hmm.
We had things in common. But the biggest thing that I take away from Kobe is he is a worker. He will outwork anybody. There was one day I got up, left home early. I'm like, I'm going to beat him in the gym today. I get in at 8 o'clock in the morning for an 11 o'clock practice. And, I'm year 10.
Yeah.
But I'm going to beat him in the gym today. He was in there full lather sweat with his trainer, and he had been in there for like 2 or 3 hours already.
Wow.
That's how hard he worked. And he was going to do that in whatever he did in life. That's the way he attacked everything.
Why do you think that this was so emotional for you and so emotional for people that didn't even know Kobe?
He grew up in front of everybody here, especially in Los Angeles. But from age 17 through his death, everybody in LA grew up with Kobe. That's why LA is in mourning. That's why everybody is feeling this deeply. It's because through a kid, growing up through maturity, ups and downs, everybody was with him, saw how he fought through all of that, saw him as a family man, saw him retire, you saw him enjoy people around him. When you're a competitor and you're young, you're after it. You saw him open up personality-wise at the end and let people in. And everybody grew to love Kobe.
Right.
And just to see Gigi grow up, and she had this patented fadeaway.
Right.
We joked about that a couple of weeks ago. I was like, man, she's in your bag already, stealing all of your tricks. And he's like, yep. Then we, the little smile emojis, and I told him Happy New Year, and that I never thought that would be the last time that I had contact with him.
Well, there's a lot more stories from Tracy that we're going to put together a special podcast, a conversation. We're going to have a lot more stories about Tracy. You can go to our website to get that. You go to theissueisshow.com. You can also send us an email with your favorite Kobe memories to theissueis@foxtv.com. The name of our podcast is The Issue Is. So search for that wherever you stream your podcasts, and you'll be able to hear a lot more from Tracy Murray about his friend, his teammate, Kobe Bryant. Tracy, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you for having me.
Our condolences. And up next, we're going to talk about Kobe's unique relationship with the media. We'll talk with two journalists who covered him closely for years. Stay with us. More of The Issue Is Remembering Kobe Bryant when we come back.
planning on doing a tribute during the Super Bowl?
Well, first, I don't think just Los Angeles is mourning the loss of Kobe Bryant. Both of those individuals will be seen on Sunday in some fashion in a respectful way.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell telling Fox 11 Los Angeles sports anchor Liz Habib about the NFL's plan to honor Kobe Bryant and a deceased NFL Hall of Famer at the Super Bowl this weekend. Liz, one of many Los Angeles journalists who interviewed Kobe often during his 20-year run with the Lakers. Another is Arash Markazi, sports columnist with the LA Times, longtime veteran of ESPN. Before that, Kobe had a lot of love for Arash. Both Liz and Arash joining us now from Miami, where they're both covering the Super Bowl. Thank you both for joining us, and sorry to talk under these circumstances.
Thanks.
It's good to be here, though.
Liz, let's start with you. What's your favorite memory of Kobe Bryant?
You know, it has nothing to do with anything on the court. It's really off the court because Kobe was really very generous with his time. And so one day I was at a resort and my family was there, right? My mom, dad, my brother, his wife, the kids. And, you know, they knew I covered Kobe, so it was a big deal for them. So he came walking in, he came walking around the table. He kind of looked back, he saw me, he came back and said hi. He gave me a hug. And I said, Kobe, my family's here. And he came over and shook everybody's hand and said hello. And of course, my nephews and my niece were just in awe, you know, that he did it. But that's how Kobe was. And Vanessa was there and they were on their way to a kid's birthday party. But he was so kind like that. He really took time for people. So that's my favorite memory, because it also made me look good with my
Exactly.
family.
Arash,
right,
Arash, what's your favorite Kobe memory?
Yeah, mine is similar as well, just the way that he touched so many people. I mean, I remember when I first began this journey of trying to lose weight, the first month I dropped about 30 pounds, and Kobe, there was a big rush, there was a big media contingent following him, like as he's leaving, and he stopped and he goes, Arash, you look incredible. And I tweeted out those pictures of just him stopping and looking at me saying, like, you look amazing. And for him to notice that, and for him to take the time to say, you look incredible, keep doing it. And then I saw him, the last time I saw him was in October, and he just said, I mean, this is incredible, I'm so proud of you. And so, again, to have that connection with a reporter was just so unique.
We just showed one of those pictures of him giving you a big hug, Arash. Talk a bit about Kobe's relationship with the media, because it didn't always start off so great. It sort of evolved over time, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the Kobe who finished his career was my favorite player to cover, just because he loved talking. He loved holding court, and we would talk about the game, certainly, but we'd also would talk about life and his kids and Vanessa and what movies he's watching and TV shows he's watching. And I really think he was content retiring, and so by the time he was done, he was just happy talking to you. So it was so much fun to talk to him.
There's absolutely no question about that. You know, when he was playing, I was called, you know, Mamba. When he came out, by the time he named himself the Black Mamba, we'd be in those press conferences, and he was always short with his answers, and always, you know, it was the Mamba thing. I kind of thought it was funny, but it offended a lot of people along the way, right? But, you know, there were times, though, where I had interviews with him in the middle of the playoffs where he would really be on a one-on-one basis with me, really kind, and he was fun. Kobe liked to laugh and have a good time and make a joke, you know, and that was a really nice, and he was warm. My favorite thing about him is he was so warm, you could talk about the kids with them. Yeah. We don't have that kind of relationship with very many superstars. We really don't. He was open with us about his life.
And last question to each of you. Most important takeaway for you from meeting Kobe Bryant. Arash, let's start with you.
You know, the amazing thing is that so many great stories that I've heard over the past few days from people who've met Kobe just once. Again, we've talked to him many times, hundreds of times, but the impact he had on people that he just met once, whether it was a 20-minute meeting or a 2-minute meeting, the impact he had, and I think he would have loved to have known that he had that impact, because as you mentioned, he was so genuine and so warm, but he touched so many people's lives.
Oh my gosh, it brings tears to my eyes, because people just, one picture, one moment, one thing, he had that electric smile. He was warm. I used to say to myself, this guy was raised right. I know that's not what everyone thought. They thought that because they created this Mamba, but I always thought he was raised right. He's so kind to people, and he asks them always how they're doing. Like he asked you.
Yeah,
that was so him.
Amazing.
No, none of these superstars stop. They don't even know your. They don't use your name.
Yeah.
They don't use your name. So I mean, wow, he was special. He really was.
Yeah, and you can see that he was raising his girls right as well. Liz, thank you to you and Arash, and thank you both for all you've done this week to help all of us cope, too, because I think you've spoken for a lot of us, and we appreciate hearing your perspective.
Thanks.
Thanks, Alex.
Up next, TMZ's Harvey Levin on breaking the story and the calls for TMZ to be canceled because of it. Stay with us.
The Nets 3 timeouts left. The Lakers have 2. Bryant to shot.
And it'd be extremely disrespectful to understand that your loved one was perished and you learn about it from TMZ. That is just wholly inappropriate. So
LA County Sheriff Alex Villanueva criticizing TMZ for breaking the Kobe Bryant helicopter crash story before all the victims on that helicopter's families could be notified. After that comment by the sheriff, there's been a bit of a backlash online against TMZ. This week, I spoke to TMZ's Harvey Levin for the Fox 11 News here in Los Angeles. Here is part of our conversation. I think a lot of people are curious about the process that went on at TMZ to actually break that news.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same process that any news outlet would use. We got a tip that this had happened, and we're not going to, it was from somebody who would have been in a position to know this, but it wasn't enough for me or for the team. So we worked for a solid hour after, making a slew of phone calls, and I can tell you personally, others in the office as well, I was on the phone with various people in Kobe's camp and ultimately got it confirmed by them, and we posted the story. So they were part of, you know, multiple phone calls as we were working on all of this. So, you know, look, I'll ask you, Alex, because I haven't heard this from anybody. Is there any news organization that you've heard of that said we wouldn't have done it?
No, I think part of the controversy, though, is maybe some people, what about the other family members that were on that helicopter, and what, is it possible that they learned about this from TMZ?
Yeah, no. And I think it's a fair discussion point for sure. Now, the issue is, how long do you hold it? Because as far as I can see, the sheriff really just identified Kobe yesterday at the news conference. So exactly how long are they talking about? And the reality here is that every media organization in the world immediately jumped in the story and posted it long before any names came out. And all I would say to you is, look, Alex, you've been around now and you guys have covered plane crashes. And when a plane crashes and news outlets, you know, yours and every other one, appropriately goes on television and says, my God, there was just this enormous plane crash, no survivors, and you'd say where the plane was going and even the flight number, well, you've just informed 300 people that their relatives were on that plane if they knew that they were flying. But you still do it, and you should do it because it's a news event, and it is exactly the same principle.
And in terms of the story itself, I mean, what an extraordinary outpouring of love that we have seen for Kobe Bryant himself. What's such an important figure to so many people, especially here in Southern California.
We have never done a story this big. And that includes Michael Jackson, that includes Prince, that includes every story we've ever done. There's nothing, actually, not as big, there's nothing close to the Kobe Bryant story. Nothing we've ever done in 14 years. And I think it speaks to the way he touched people who weren't into basketball, you know, people who didn't care all that much. They are riveted by this story and the tragedy of this story and his daughter and just everything that's been going on, that, you know, it just seems to me you're going to see one of the biggest crowds you've ever seen for a memorial in LA.
Harvey Levin, thanks for the time.
Thank you, Alex, very much.
Our thanks to Harvey Levin. Up next, a very personal tribute to Kobe. Stay with us.
Gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game! With half a minute to play, Bryant for the lead! Yes! Kobe Bryant gives the Lakers the lead! I tell you something. A 60-point game for Kobe Bryant. What a performance. What an exit for number 20.
This week, Kobe Bryant did something that almost no one in America can do these days. He actually united Democrats and Republicans. Presidents Trump and Obama both tweeted out their appreciation for Kobe. He's been a huge part of American life for decades. Speaking of presidents, Kobe was first drafted when Bill Clinton was in his first term. Back then, when Kobe wore number 8, he wasn't always so beloved. Some saw him as aloof, selfish, and of course there was the scandal. But by the time he wore number 24, Kobe adopted the Mamba Mentality, evolving into the leader of the team and the silencer of the critics. Even if you hated Kobe or hated the Lakers, you had to respect his work ethic. No one worked harder. By the time he retired, Kobe had become an icon and seemed happier, more focused on lifting others up. He ventured into storytelling to inspire others and won an Oscar for his first ever film. But perhaps his greatest joy, celebrating women's basketball and coaching his daughter Gigi. The fact that the two of them died together is incomprehensibly sad. This loss is especially personal to me. I was 9 when Kobe joined my hometown Lakers. At the time, basketball was my entire world. I taped every game so I could be like Kobe. I had his poster on my wall. As an adult, my favorite sports memory ever was attending Kobe's last game with my dad. The sign that night at Staples Center read simply, "Thank you, Kobe." As we close this week, that's the most fitting way to end. Thank you, Kobe.
I grew up a diehard Laker fan. Diehard. I knew everything about every player that's ever played here. So to be drafted and then traded to this organization and to spend 20 years here, you can't write something better than this. And what can I say? Mamba out.